and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to let you know that we were in executive session for personnel prior to the meeting. And in speaking with the superintendent, we would request a walk-on item into personnel. If we could have a voice vote on that. All in favor?
To amend the agenda.
To amend the agenda. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Why don't you announce what it is so that way everybody knows?
It is a resignation from the Southmoreland School Police by
Security, yeah, the name of the individual.
by Thomas Kimmel Security.
It's school security, not...
It's school security guard Thomas Kimmel is resigning.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Fry? Mr. Polakowski?
Here.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose? Mrs. Smith? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Amelia Eckert? Jacob Lewandowski?
For the record, Mrs. Rhodes, Mrs. Smith, and Mr. Fry did notify me that they would not be present. And before we go any further, I would like to congratulate Jacob. Jacob was named the September Spirit of Southmoreland School, the high school, as a Spirit student. So congratulations, Jacob. You do a wonderful job there. Amelia, you do also.
Citizens' comments.
I have none.
Minutes, approval of the September 12th and September 19th, 2019 board meetings.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the September 12, 2019 voting discussion meeting minutes and the September 19, 2019 voting meeting board minutes.
We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Mr. Carson? Discussion? Roll call? Or voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accounts, fund account check summary.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the September 2019 fund account check summary.
Motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Discussion?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries 6 and 3 absent.
August 2019 Treasurers Report.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the August 2019 Treasurer's Report.
Motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries 6 and 3 absent.
Board Summary Report, September 2019.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the September 2019 Board Summary Report.
Motion?
Motion.
Second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-3 absent.
Bond refinancing matters.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the Dinsmore and Shoal LLP Bond Counsel Engagement Letter for the potential bond issue or issues at a charge for a single bond issue of $18,000. If there are multiple bond issues, the cost is $14,000 for first issue, and the second issue, which will follow in approximately 15 days, will be $14,000. Also, there will be separate reimbursements for costs out of the proceeds of the financing not to exceed $2,000 per bond issue.
Make a motion? Second? Discussion?
Yeah. I have some concerns about what we're getting into. I've asked the simplest of questions, and I can't get the simplest of answers. How much does everything cost? How much do we think we're going to save? This is not brain surgery, and why is there a hurry? The rates go up as well as they can go down. And I don't know why that I can't get answers from the solicitor and from the business manager as to, now you've answered one question here about the 18 and the 14. This isn't our first rodeo on refinancing. I've been through a number of them. Why can't I find out how much we're going to refinance and what ballpark figure we might get when we do refinance, and to hear the discussion about, well, that depends on the rates. Pick a rate. I'm not asking anybody to lock anything in. I want some ballpark figures as to what it's going to benefit us and what it's going to cost. How much is the average cost from the bond refinancing company to do this on average? Not asking what they're going to charge us. What is the average? What is the solicitor's fee? None of these things can I get answers to. The second part of my discussion is, in 60 short days or a little bit less, we're going to have several new board members who have been up to this microphone and expressed their views and asked questions about this bond issue, and I don't think they've gotten the answers they want either. And I think it's a matter, when we're talking millions of dollars, that it should be the new board that addresses this issue. That's all.
Well, I'd like to just add on to what Ken was asking about. I looked through all the paperwork the PFM submitted, and under their synopsis, they have a page which reflects the savings. That's strictly projected, correct? Okay, David? All right, and it happens to be page 19. And the savings they're projecting as of now, where the interest rates have been for other bond issues our size. On the 12 issue, they're projecting a gross savings of $313,000. And on the 2013 issue, which is smaller, about $110,000. My question, and I think you may ask them this question because it wasn't pointed out. Are those savings, and it's been a long time since I did a refinancing, are these savings after all the costs? Do we have that question answered? When they projected these savings, is that taken into consideration all the overhead costs?
There is, within the board docs, under like 81 pages long, they submitted a request for proposal. Can I just do everything now rather than doing it piecemeal? Is that acceptable? Okay, here's what happened. I put together pursuant to the resolution, a request for proposal from financial advisors. And that was advertised and it was sent to the particular ones who were mentioned at the last meeting. There were some additional financial advisors who requested. Mr. Nasha and I and Mr. Marnell met at the set time and place, and we received a grand total of 1. It happens to be from the largest
in terms of both dollar volume and numbers of issues in Pennsylvania. And they're not limited to Pennsylvania, but they are the largest in Pennsylvania. And that is in PFM Financial Advisor, LLC. They have offices in Harrisburg and in the Philadelphia area. They submitted, and I gave you a checklist, which is part of the board docs that went out to the school board, everything that they had supplied, and noted where there were some things that either were not complete or were omitted. Whenever we noticed that at our meeting opening, because there was only one, and because you're not even legally required to have bids for this, and they weren't bids, they were proposals, we sought clarification of the missing information. In particular, one of them was there was a page that I guess didn't scan correctly, in which they had listed all of the information for all these bond issues that they've done since 2014, but not the names of the school districts. So they supplied that. They supplied a proposed form of the contract. They answered some other omissions, which I referred to in my memo to the board. Please provide the name of some litigation that they're involved in. They did that. Supply your form of proposed contract. They did that. I found some things in it I didn't like, so I shot back another request that they make some additional changes. And tonight you have in front of you, not to approve, but to study over the weekend, if you so choose, what could be the contract with them if you have them come next week and do presentation and answer your questions. Additionally, they clarified their fees would be $15,000 per borrowing. If there's one big borrowing and you put it all together, it's $15,000. If you do one and then another one, it's $15,000 each. And they didn't make a distinction between bond or bank borrowing. Although doing bank borrowing normally doesn't generate the kinds of savings on interest rates that you normally expect. They also clarified some things about savings as to whether their calculation was meant to be net of the effect of your state's adjustment on the reimbursement, what you get charged for not being able to get reimbursed for because of your market value aid ratio.
Which is around 28%.
I'm going to refer to Jim on that because we had some numbers that went back and forth on that just recently. Now, to get to some dollar numbers, their initial calculation for the 2012 general obligation bond was $293,541, and on $101,087 on the 2013. They then followed up with I'm sorry, I have to keep going back and forth here. Okay. I'll have to get through this to page. They gave the references, they made a disclosure, and then you get to the fee proposal. The one that you have didn't clarify that it was per transaction. No, I'm sorry, it is. So this is the most recent one. And there's a schedule I'll come back to that because I know you're all hankering for numbers. So if you get to page 18, you will see that they have made certain assumptions. They're assuming that the underwriter's fee, which the underwriter calls a discount, but is really a fee, and that may have been confusing to the public. It means that they get to buy them for an amount of money less than what the face amount is. So it's really their fee. And they're estimating $6 per $1,000 of bond. If you pursue a negotiated or competitive transaction, but if you don't, that it's more likely to be in the area of $8 per $1,000. The bond insurance would be equal to 25 basis points of the debt service, and your fee for a paying agent is $1,500 per year. They then have calculated, as for cost of issuance, our assumption is $65,000 based upon the following. Total legal fees and expenses, including the district solicitor, $25,000. Now, of that, Mr. Pastel is actually claiming the overwhelming lion's share. Financial advisory fee, $15,000 for them. Paying agent fee, $1,250. Credit rating fee, $16,000 based on a bank-qualified financing, and $7,500 for preparation and printing of what's called the preliminary official statement and the official statement. Those are those fine print, single-spaced booklets that go with initial bond issuances and also, for that matter, initial stock issuances. And they're required by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Note, should a negotiated sale be selected, the district's underwriter may require an underwriter's counsel that would be an additional cost. Additionally, should the district pursue a competitive sale, they hire a firm in Pittsburgh who actually conducts the internet auction, and their fee for that they've estimated at $2,750. So it would actually be an electronic bidding process done in real time, if you pursue that. If you don't pursue it, then of course that's not part of it. Now, assumed interest rates, and that they probably, either they or Jim could refer to, but they do supply an Appendix J, in which they looked at recent bond issuances by public bodies and studied those and utilized those in their assumptions. Okay. So then you take those and their numbers then have, in calculating the savings, they have a gross savings and a net PV savings, which is present value. And on the 2012 refunding being done by bond issuance, their estimated gross savings is $313,319, and the present value of that is $293,541. For the 2013, assuming a bank-qualified $9,295,000, the first one was $9,555,000, would be $109,890 of gross savings and a net PV savings of $101,087. There had been some, on one of the pages they had submitted, that there were some numbers that just didn't scan correctly, and they followed up and then supplied that information. They made a further assumption at the bottom of page 19. Based on our analysis, we estimate that the value of moving payments up 1 month to be approximately $13,250 for the 2012 bonds and $11,500 to the refunding 2013 bond. So they're proposing moving up by a month the payment date. I believe that's what that means. Now, it's possible that, and it's up to the school board in consultation, I would hope, with the financial advisor, as to whether or not it's a good idea about how long to stretch out this process. They supplied on page, I'm sorry, I have to keep flipping back and forth here. If you're with me, it's on page, schedule. As part of the request for proposal, I said to them, to whoever would submit, tell us when you want or need school board decisions and what the timeline is to move forward with this in the manner that would be most expeditious. So they supplied it. And on page, it's tab 9, IX, page 17. So, if you invite them next week, to come next week, you can have a meeting next Tuesday. You can ask them questions. They would have a presentation to make. You could then decide whether or not you wanted to do business with them. If you do, then I've done what I can to get you to that point. And I've handed out to you what I hope is the last version of what their contract would be. I have made them insert as part of their services, not just what they initially listed, but copycatted our request from right out of the pages of the request for proposal book, and it requires them to consider both the, and advise you on both a bond issuance through either an auction, or, which would be competitive bidding, or if you wanted to have them negotiate for you, and or a bank loan. So all options that I could possibly keep on the table are still on the table. And that is Exhibit C on the attachment that I've given you tonight. And of course, if this were to be considered next week, I would recommend that it be made part of the public agenda. Under the timeline, if you chose them Tuesday, you are then in a position, having studied the contract, unless there are additional changes to be made, to actually get that signed and get moving on it. What they would then do is send out requests for information to the business office, which I likely would also see, and then that would have to be worked on, and that information has to go back to them. They're calling for the week of November 11th. That would mean at the Thursday planning session, November 14th, they would be expected to come back and discuss a plan as to which plan you want to do. Then on the 21st, which is a regularly scheduled board meeting in November, you could pass a parameters resolution. Now, I actually thought about this, and I kind of obliquely referred to it in my memo, my other memo. Conceivably, you could be at the December meeting, and I'm not sure how much later than that, deciding on what kind of a project you wanted to do, if you want to use the money for a project. You could also be deciding that in November. Or you could decide we don't want to do a project, we want the savings. What I don't know is the financial implications in the bond market, in answer to your question and Mr. Alt's question, as to what happens if you don't keep moving forward and put off this entire process. It's then the school board that is taking the risk as to whether or not there would be changes in the bond market that would reduce the savings.
As well as they could go down.
Theoretically.
You always neglect to tell us.
Theoretically, they can go either way. But I perceive my job to be to get you all options and give you the timeline, and you decide which way you want to place your gamble. You might be able to do a split on this, and I would suggest you discuss with the financial advisor if you decide to hire them, of moving forward on this but at a slightly slower pace that would allow the final decision to be made in December. I'm not sure I understand all the implications of that, and in addition to the financing aspect of taking the risk of whether rates go up or down. But that would allow either 1 or 2 meetings in December to bring a new board involved in both the decision making as to whether to do this for a project or whether to do it for savings, and if so, what projects do you want to consider? But it's a gamble, because if interest rates go the other way, you lose savings. If they go the way you think that they're going to get better, yeah, maybe you can make some more money. That's the only way I can answer your question.
Okay, I understand everything you said, okay? Well, basically what he's saying, everything's going to change day to day.
Right.
That's the market. But what they showed us on here is what I refer to as a freeze frame, okay? That when they put this together, they looked at the markets and what the interest rates were, so they projected the numbers. If we had done the financing the day they put this proposal together. This is my simple question, and I forget, I've done many bond refinancings, but that's been years ago. They gave us the overhead cost under assumptions, okay? Cost of issuance, they're projecting $65,000.
I think that's for one issue. I think that might need to be clarified, but I think it's one issue.
So it will be 130,000.
Now, you could combine them. You could combine them, the 2012 and 2013, but then they might not be bank qualified. So you can save on issuance costs, but you might
If
not
we
do as
combine.
well on interest rates.
No, I understand all that. I'm just getting
Does
my
everybody
head.
else understand that?
So, okay, the cost of issuance is $65,000, plus you have to add the underwriter's discount and the bond insurance to come up with your total overhead cost. Okay? Now, my question is, and I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure when they talk about gross savings, that's after they deduct out the overhead cost.
That is my understanding.
Pardon?
That is my understanding, yes.
No, I can't say 100% because it's been years since I've done this, Ken, but saving, I'm pretty sure when they say gross savings, they've taken into consideration your overhead costs.
And I believe I asked that question and they clarified that they're,
Well, I think you had that in
Yeah.
your memo,
yeah,
okay? And so did they clarify that?
I believe they did it was after subtracting those.
So the projected gross savings is $313,000, for each issue after all those costs. So we're looking at taking net cash somewhere around $420,000.
Yes.
That's if you take it in cash. That's straightforward. That's just what I needed to know. I thought I knew it, I just wanted to verify.
So you're saying, Bill, that after they take all the costs from all these hands in the pot,
Yes,
we would save about $420,000?
based on the interest rates they had at hand when they projected this, yes. So if they go down, it'll be more, if they go up, it's going to be less. The interest rate.
Right. And we know that as pretty much positive, right?
Yeah, they can go either way, yeah.
No, I mean, we don't have
The
to worry
savings.
about backing out the expenses.
No, that's
Already
what I
backed up.
wanted to verify, and if I, again, it's been years since I've done my last bond refinancing, but when they talk about net savings, they've taken all the costs into consideration. I'd be shocked when they come in Tuesday and say, no, you gotta die. I'd be shocked if they would say that, but I think that's where we're at. But we would find out Tuesday for sure.
And just to clarify for everyone, we haven't made a commitment to anybody for anything, so if we don't want to do this right now, and we want to wait till a new board comes on, we have nothing to lose, other than the fact that the rates may go up or the rates may go down.
Another important factor too,
Well, it depends. You could do this a number of different ways. Theoretically, and you'd probably have to talk with the financial advisor people, let's say you wanted to hire them, but you didn't want to go forward to the point of a bond resolution until the new board was on, how they would handle that. Otherwise, if you just say, well, we're not going to do anything, then it sort of substantially throws away, not completely, but it makes the work that you've done this far in getting this close to talking about whether or not to do a financial advisor lost effort, and then you have the whole conversation again, and if you want to pursue it again, send out another request for proposal, which adds more time.
What is the time issue? There is no time issue. Rates go up, rates go down. That's the only thing that matters.
If rates go up, I don't want to be the person
And if
holding the
rates-
bag.
And if rates go down,
For
if we
you-
hurry up and do it like you keep insisting that we do.
I'm not insisting
oh,
you do it.
Save it.
I'm not.
Save it. Because you've been
If the
pushing and
board,
pushing and
if
pushing,
the
and I don't know
board
why.
decides they don't want to do it, I'm done. I'm done talking about it. I'm okay. But that's your decision, not my decision. I've done what I can to get you every piece of information.
And you've tried to sway this board to go the way of doing it and doing it now.
If you don't want to do it, vote.
I hope that's what we're going to do soon.
But I would recommend that you just ask all these other questions, these questions, and more questions. Invite them, have them come out. It's not costing you anything to have them come out. And I foolishly volunteered to Mrs. Love that I wouldn't charge for the extra meeting this month.
I'm heartbroken.
I know. I can tell.
How do we pick these advisors? Do we put it out for bid, or how do we do this?
We advertised and we sent it to a list of people that we knew who did the work. These people supplied and responded. The others didn't. Now, if you had a longer, if we had a longer advertising period, would more have responded? Maybe. Maybe not. We don't know.
Just one responded, right?
One, the
I
biggest
don't
mistake.
understand that. These people should be knocking our door down for business. Not only the advisor, but the bond refinancing companies. We're not doing something right. Because if I'm in a business, and there's business out there to be had, I'm going to knock on that door. We're telling people that we're doing this and we're doing that, and we got one person,
Yeah, that's what happened.
and we're doing something wrong.
Another thing really bothers,
Business is business.
another thing that bothers me is I read through this stuff, and some of these bond people buy these up, and then they resell them and make more money. Are they called scammers or what?
That is what we are looking into to try to, you really can't prevent it, but what you can try to do is force them by doing competitive bids, the bond underwriters, to take that into account that, oh, we're planning on making some money in the secondary market, we have to think about whether or not to give up some of that and put it into our bid to make our bid more attractive. Because that is the only way that I can see that you can try to get that to work your way rather than just working their way. Right now, it works just their way. They have the ability, there's a little bit of a limitation on it that's referenced in the article, but at a certain point they then have the ability to go into the secondary market and do those extra trades. If you go and just hire a bond underwriter, like whoever you pick, they have that ability. They can do that.
To just go and sell them to somebody else like a scammer where they can make more money.
Saying it's a scam is not quite correct because,
There's always secondary market.
there's an opportunity for them to try to make some extra money. There's also an opportunity for them to lose some money. There's some risk involved in it.
Well, it's just like us.
Yes. Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is if you do competitive bids, you're trying to force them to compete with each other so that you can get better rates and a better plan.
How much does one of these advisors cost?
These people quoted $15,000 for one debt borrowing, whether it's just one of the bond issues or you combine them. If you do two separate ones, it's $15,000 for each. I don't know, maybe if you are real tough with them next week, you might get them to come down on that.
Just out of curiosity, I'm sure we have somewhere up there between you guys. What's been the 30, 60, 90 rates for 30, 60, 90 days? I mean, we're talking stuff here. Has anybody looked at what the rates have been doing? Have they been stagnant, gone up, gone down?
They're changing all the time.
Yeah, but which way?
I can't keep track
So
of it.
you've
Every
looked
day.
at all this, but you don't know whether the market's gone up or the market's gone down.
That's a question to ask them. I'm the lawyer, I'm not the bond advisor, I'm not the underwriter. You can go look at the newspaper too, or watch, the financial news. Every time I look, they're changing.
That's why I pay you.
No, I'm not that advisor.
Well, I pay two of you out there to do something. And when I ask what their interest rates are, neither one of you who is involved in this can tell me how the rates have been going. But yet you'll be the first one to say, you better hurry up because the rates may go up.
It depends on over what period of time you're looking at.
I just said 30,
and
60,
it depends
90.
on whether you're looking at treasuries or bond municipals. We learned today that there are two things happening. One is that this China trade stuff can still go either way. It actually has been making treasuries more desirable because of the uncertainty factor, which would drive down or tend to push down interest rates. The countervailing thing that's going on is there's so many municipal entities, school districts and municipalities that are trying to take advantage of this, that there's starting to be a lot of issuances coming out, which in turn could mean that there may be at some point too many of them. So that's another factor that has to be looked at as to how long you want to wait.
Well, when I was business manager, I advised the board on a simple philosophy. Your advisor projects, this is what you're going to save, okay, if we move now. Okay, so in our case, it's gross 313 and 109, okay? You're working for the taxpayer. If you say, no, we're not happy with that, we're going to sit on it, okay? From that point, you're gambling, in my opinion. You're
You
gambling.
and I understand that, yes.
Pardon?
I agree with you. I agree.
You have taken the next step. You become a gambler because you're going to in your mind, you think you're going to get better rates, and you may, but you may not. So my philosophy was always take what it is at that point, because no one knows what's going to happen down the road. And when you don't know, you're gambling. You took that step and become a gambler. That's my philosophy. That's how I advise the board. And
Yeah, but we're still gambling until we make a decision of who we're gonna get to be the advisor for this, right?
that's not gambling. That's
Yeah,
management.
but you're waiting.
Well, I got no choice, it's set up to bring him in on the 22nd.
Okay.
The other thing I like to point out too, PMF, they rated the school district as an A+, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
The school district is in financial distress. So, I just want to point that out.
Does that mean we'll get our money?
Pardon?
Or an A+, we get our money?
Well, you get better insurance rates and...
Well, good. The only thing that bothers me about this is, like Ken said about a new board coming on, we've already been blamed for going in the back room and making decisions and everything else. And now the new board's coming on here, and they have to live with what we do now. And we've already been, like, accused of going in the back room and making a decision, coming out and voting on it. And I really believe the new board should have the option to vote on this, because they have to live with it for 4 more years.
No, the taxpayers got to live with it.
Well, they're representing the taxpayers,
Whether
right?
it's the present board or the new board. Again, I got another simple philosophy. I was business manager for 25 years, and I was blamed for 25 years. They want to blame me for this, that's fine too.
Well, you're scooting off.
Well, there is another option, but it's some gamble, and that would be to discuss with the financial advisor next week. And it's not costing you to have them come. That's the nice thing. What they would say, if you pushed back the schedule so that the decision-making is like, I don't know what day of the week December 2nd is. Tuesday? Monday? Monday. Either that Monday or the Thursday of that week. Then it's their decision. And they could still say no. Or yes.
Ready to move forward this way?
Yeah, if you guys are. Roll call?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mr. Alt?
I want to clarify my no, which is what the vote would be, not because I'm averse to saving 400 and some thousand. And if that was the only issue, I would vote yes. But I do believe that it's the responsibility and it should be looked at from the new board, not from us. It's going to change, so my vote is no for that reason.
Mr. Beistel?
No, because of the fact I feel like Mr. Alt does, we should, more information, make sure the new board coming on has to live with this the same as we do, and I vote no.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion is 4 yes, 2 no, that's
Fails.
yeah.
Do we even do the next one? Do we even do the next one?
You still can.
I think we should follow the process.
Pardon?
I think we should follow the process.
Yeah, because you're not, it's not costing you anything other than the advertising on your name. It's a separate question. It's related, but it's separate.
Bond refinancing resolution.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the resolution which authorizes the board to invite potential financial advisors to present their qualifications, responses, plans, and information as to why that financial advisor should be chosen at a special meeting of the school board on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, beginning at 7 p.m. local prevailing time in the middle school cafeteria at 200 Scotty Way, Scottsdale, PA 15683, not limited to whether to use the savings to reduce interest on the early debt or to utilize the savings for capital projects and such general business as may come before the board, and grant permission to the secretary to advise and advertise,
Motion?
So what needs to be inserted is the only choice that you have right now is PFM Financial Advisors LLC. That's who you would be inviting. And this is their proposed contract. And you have their request for proposal on board docs. So you can ask all these questions to them. And more.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Mr. Carson? Roll call? Oh, I'm sorry, discussion?
It's okay, I just want to clarify, this costs us nothing.
Advertising.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. O?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson? Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries 6 and 3 absent.
Board reports, student report?
Congratulations to September Scotty Scholar Johnson Shaw. Picture debut takes will be on October 25th. The annual homecoming dance was held on Saturday, October 5th, 2019 from 6 to 9 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. The dance was sponsored by the freshman and sophomore classes. The music for the night was provided by DJ Mackie D from Connellsville. 300 students had a lot of fun. The students were served a variety of refreshments. The dance was a fun and successful event that was enjoyed by those that attended. Recently, several members of National Honor Society volunteered to help clean up after the Fall Festival. National Honor Society also recently canned for donations, raising $135 in cash for the Westmoreland Food Bank.
Senior soprano Abby Whitlatch and junior alto Chloe Gillot will be representing the Southmoreland High School Choral Department at the PMEA Honors Choir Festival to be held at Waynesburg High School on Friday, October 18th. The women's ensemble will be directed by Mr. Ryan Keeling, assistant conductor of the Mendelssohn Choir Pittsburgh. The festival will conclude with a public performance on Saturday, October 19th at 2 o'clock. Tickets are $5 and are available at the door. The high school musical arts students will be visiting Robert Morris University on Friday, October 25th with a student manatee of the Addams family. Following the show, students will have a meet and greet with the cast and creative team, be given a tour of the theater, and enjoy a pizza party. Southmoreland High School graduate Kaylee Whitlatch is an ensemble member of the cast. This opportunity is provided by the RMU Theater Department at no cost to the students. Although the Youth Educators Association is under new management, over 1,000 students from across Westmoreland County, including 90 of our own students, continue to attend the annual Buddy Day at Twin Lakes Park. High school students were paired with middle, elementary, and primary center students from our artistic support, life skills, and special education classes. They spent the day enjoying the outdoors and fishing, music, carnival rides, petting zoos, and most importantly, their buddies. Southmoreland's chapter of the Future is Mine Club has been very active since the start of school. With over 90 members overall, they are busy fundraising for their various activities and trips. 48 students recently attended a health science fair at Penn State, the Everly campus in Fayette County. While there, they got to play with the synthetic cadavers, practice using medical diagnostic equipment, and spoke one-on-one with professors in a biomedical building. Students were also taken on a tour of the campus, provided lunch, and had pictures taken at the Lion Shrine. we also have some matters that we'd like to address ourselves.
The high school girls tennis season has come to an end. Their overall record was 10 wins and 3 losses. This was the 4th consecutive year the girls have made it to the playoffs. Senior night for all fall sport participants will be held before the last home football game on October 18th.
And then I have a somewhat issue that I'd like to address to the board. Of course, everyone, as earlier we mentioned, the bond policy and the savings, the potential savings that would come at that. And I looked at the memo attached in our meeting notes, and it had a list of what could be addressed and altered for the school for the better. I feel that the bathrooms in the high school are one of the most important to address with this possible new funding. Not all are fully functioning. If you ask any student at Southmoreland High School, they will tell you that the bathrooms that they go into are not in proper conditions for students. And when I say this, I don't mean to complain, but it's I feel an adequate issue that needs to be addressed, and it's very important. There is examples such as the stall in the girls' bathroom in the lunchroom. It doesn't fully close, and this is sort of an invasion of privacy, walking in and seeing other classmates like on the toilet. The boys' history hallway bathroom doesn't have working hand dryers, paper towels, or mirrors. And the bathrooms near Mr. Pollard's room on the bottom floor haven't been opened in several months. I feel like these are basic needs that should be addressed. And I foresee this as a problem that can be easily addressed, that shouldn't be that expensive. It can be really cost efficient if we act on this as soon as possible and use the facilities and resources that we have to make it the most cost efficient in repairing it. Are there any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment with my Jacobs. Do we have a policy of janitorial checkoff? I mean, daily they go through and inspect bathrooms and make sure everything's functional, check off an initial?
They're supposed to have their set duty per day. I just noted that myself as to why those are.
Maybe that'll help, yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Jacob. Now, there could be other reasons as to why restrooms might be closed also, because they could be high-impact areas for adverse activities that we're not big proponents of.
Superintendent report?
I do have two things that I would like to discuss. I have included the PAYS survey. We are currently closing or adding during our quarterly reports for our PCCD grant, and in looking at that closure and also looking at the upcoming one that we will be applying to, we did a survey of school safety and security, which was advised by the grant itself in order to do an assessment of our district, and it was noted in the results that we do not, this district does not participate in the Pennsylvania Youth Survey Participation Survey, and we should be. The reason for that, it collects information on mental health and youth attitudes and behaviors towards alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs use and other problem behaviors. It is what our youth, two of which are sitting here, think and believe about our antisocial behaviors that are happening in the schools. It is what our youth think about our school environment. Data from the survey is an essential component of successful grant writing and can be used to leverage resources to help meet identified needs. The surveys are anonymous and confidential. No individual student information can be obtained from the data set, and parents do have the right to opt their students out. So I believe that it is something that we should look at. We are probably one of the only schools in this area that is really not participating, and it is becoming more and more necessary for us to have that information when applying for grants. So I would recommend that that be passed tonight. And I've included policy manual section 000, 200s, and 300s. And currently we have those policies in existence. They were board approved in the past, but PSBA does issue periodic updates on those policies. What I am asking is if I can go in and just start making the updates to those policies with the idea that I would be submitting those to PSBA for approval, Mr. Petonic, and then I would bring them back to the board for your preview, post them for 30 days with the idea then that we would vote on them to ratify the potential changes that could be proposed. So that is why I included those, because I would like to start working on those updates. And then we have to look at the 500, 600, the 6, 7, 8, and 900 policies. We do not have those currently adopted, and I would like to get moving on those. So I really would like to start looking at the policies and our administrative regulations that need updated and modified. So that is why I included that information for your purview. Questions? Thank you. That is all.
Business manager report?
Yes, I sat on the table where you look at the top page is a summary. The comparison with last year's final budget, actual report. And then below it is the summary for past school year, 2018, 2019. So, in short, we budgeted revenues of $30,200,014 last year. We budgeted expenditures of $30,565,385. So we had a budgeted deficit of $365,371. Our unofficial closing is our actual revenues, $30,553,599 for a positive variance of 1.2%. So our actual revenues came in $353,585 more than what we forecasted. Our expenditures, we actually expended $30,097,073. So we had another positive variance there of 1.5%, or we underspent our expenditures by $468,312. So the net effect is actual revenues minus actual expenditures. We had a surplus, or net profit, if you will, $456,526. So that money then gets added to our accumulated fund balances. So last year, we started off the 18-19 year with total audited ending fund balances of $2,876,133. Add to that $456,526. So our projected ending fund balances for June 30th, 2019, $3,302,659. So we went from being in operating in red to operating in the black. And I think that is a good sign that we are not in fiscal distress, that we are moving forward. And we passed this year for 1920 actually a balanced budget. So I would anticipate that next year, that worst case scenario is we either stay as a break even or we'll have a surplus again. So that's good news for the school system.
I agree 100% with you, Jim. This district has turned the corner. When you consider the district had lost over $1 million the previous year, another $1 million the year before that, and somewhere around $700,000 the year before that. This was a key year. It is turned around. I agree with your surplus. While you did your numbers, I was projecting my own at home, and I was coming slightly under you, but I just felt the whole time that we would operate in the black this year. And you're right, that makes the 1920 budget even more strong based on these numbers. But when I did my numbers, Jim, I got a quick question for you. When I went down through revenues, for Title I, Title II, I had to accrue almost the full allotment because according to our revenue runs, and I'm looking at December 30th, okay, year to date, we show like only $23,000 in revenue for Title I and nothing for Title II. Now, my understanding is we did get those monies. Where did those monies get recorded? Because it really threw me off.
The final closing entries with myself and Mr. Turnley's firm have yet to take place, and those final adjustments to our federal grants will also take place. I did not do the final adjustments for the Title I and Title II programs, because we worked together on that. So I anticipate that once those adjustments are done, this unofficial surplus will actually be greater than what we're showing here.
Okay, but on our June 30th run, we showed very little money for Title I, Title II, and now you're reflecting it.
I had to book the actual federal monies that came in for last year. They came in late this summer. So
for 17, 18.
No, 18, 19.
Uh-huh.
So 18, 19 finally came in, but that was after June 30th. So that June 30th run was a snapshot in time. So late summer, the 18, 19 Title I and Title II monies came in.
After June?
Yes, and I booked them as a receivable last year and as revenue. So that's why this number is higher than it was on June 30th's run.
But Title I and Title II are always a pain because
Yes,
out of $30 million in Title I, Title II money, we get about $500,000. But as you know, the reporting is so stringent, and you have to file quarterly reports to get your money. Why did we get our money so late if we should be getting it every quarter? You know what I'm asking?
Yes, I take your question. I don't have an answer for that right now.
Okay.
But
because it just threw me for a loop that when you gave me this final report, I was elated. The monies are reflected now.
But
knowing federal funding and how stringent they are on reporting, I couldn't figure out how we got...
Mr. Clara and Mr. Masha and I are working on the federal grants, the Title I, the Title II, the Title IV, and also the PCCD grants. So we are on that, and
okay.
we have a good working little group here.
So instead of getting them every quarter, we did finally get them at the end of the year?
Yes.
And they're in?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Complicated, and you got to be down right to the dollar, or they'll shut you off.
Solicitor information?
I gave one.
WIRE, Heather's not here. CWCTC report?
The only thing that I have is Mary Ann Lupinetti, the business manager at CWCTC, is retiring at the end of the month, so her position will be advertised. And an intern business manager position is the intern position we're going to hire ASAP. So as soon as we get a name from either, is that PASBO, Jim, or PSBA can give us one.
When is Mary Ann retiring?
At the end of the month.
End of
October, yes.
Wow, that's...
She submitted her resignation at the end of September.
I had no idea that she was retiring.
Yes.
Congratulations, I'll have to give her a call.
Yes.
Not that she had to let me know anyway.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's mid-year and,
Everything, well, I guess you can't talk about it. I have to say, is everything okay with her?
Yes.
A health issue?
That concludes my
Well,
report.
everybody's time comes at some point. She's done a good job. She's worked hard.
I agree.
Yeah, PSBA and anti-bullying, we'll have to wait. Gail's not here. School safety?
Yeah, a few things. So we've had 36 safe tips handled to date for this year so far. We've had a lockdown drill completed at the high school on September 30th. The middle school, the SES and the SPC are to be completed by the end of the month. Lockdown training
completed by the middle school teachers on October 15th. It was an Act 80 day. Officers Mark, Alex, Taylor, and Ken are scheduled to go to the NASRO training, which is a 40-hour basic class, on October 28th. Parent pickup and drop-off has been running smoothly at the middle school and the SES after changes were implemented. Other than that, nothing else on safety. I would just like to wish the boys football team good luck tomorrow, and hope we have a nice return win home and a nice night for some football. And that's all I have to report.
New business, PSBA administrative regulations.
The board is asked to consider the approval of an agreement with PSBA's Administrative Relations Service, specifically the Policy News Network Plus, PNN Plus, at a cost for the 2019-2020 school year of $899.
A motion? Second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Alt? Yes. Mr. Beistel? Yes. Mr. Carson? Yes. Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Marquee Agreement Rail Lane 2019-2020.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the 2019-2020 agreement with Marquee located on Rail Lane, and that is for behavioral health services.
Motion? Can you second? Discussion?
Right.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Alt? Yes. Mr. Beistel? Yes. Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Hapara renewal?
The board is asked to consider the renewal of an agreement with Hapara at a cost of $5,950. This covers 1,000 student seats for a term of 1 year, and that is the program that oversees our student computer usage in the classroom. We can actually monitor what students are using.
Motion? Second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson? Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mr. Alt? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
2020 proposed band trip.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the 2020 proposed marching band trip to Great Wolf Lodge, Kings Island, Mason, Ohio, Friday, May 29th, 2020, to Saturday, May 30th, 2020.
Motion? Second? Discussion?
Do you have your clearances?
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
PACE survey.
The board is asked to consider the approval of the district's participation in the PACE survey, and that will be for 10th grade students. It's the Pennsylvania Youth Survey, the one that I...
Motion? Second? Discussion?
Would this be a mandatory survey for all 10th graders?
No,
Okay. And would it be this?
it would be this school year.
That's all.
Yes, parents and students have the option to opt out of the survey.
Any other discussion?
What's the cost of this?
There is none.
There's none. No cost.
Roll call?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Personnel, cafeteria worker intermittent leave.
The board is asked to consider the approval of an unpaid intermittent leave for Molly Fee, cafeteria worker, throughout the 2019-2020 school year.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Mr. Porter? Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson? Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3.
Winter sports coaches for 2019-2020.
The board is asked to consider the renewal of the following winter sports coaches: Frank Bucino, boys head coach, basketball coach at $6,779. Tim Bucino, varsity assistant JV boys basketball coach at $4,137. David Barkley, 8th grade head boys basketball coach at $3,154. Brian Fritz, girls head varsity basketball coach at $6,779. Barry Collins, girls first assistant basketball coach, $4,137. Amber Cernuto, girls 8th grade head basketball coach, $3,062. Dan Boring, head high school wrestling coach at $6,215. And Terry Kwashnok, wrestling assistant high school coach at $3,361.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
New hire cafeteria worker.
The board is asked to consider approving Christina Betlin being reassigned from a day-to-day substitute to a 3.25-hour cafeteria worker at the high school. This position had previously been vacated.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3.
Posting of sophomore class sponsor.
The board is asked to consider authorizing administration to post the supplemental position of sophomore class sponsor at a salary of $853 for the 2019-2020 school year.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Richard Love, NJHS sponsor.
The board is asked to consider the approval of Richard Love as the middle school NJHS sponsor at a supplemental salary of $650 for the 2019-2020 school year.
Motion? Can you second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Abstain?
Motion carries, 5, 1 abstain, 2 absent.
Resignation assistant girls soccer coach.
The board is asked to consider the resignation of Holly Shipley as assistant girls soccer coach effective immediately.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Is that retroactive to the date of the resignation?
Yes.
Is that the intent? Would you restate it, please?
I don't know the actual date of the...
Well, just whatever it is. That it would be effective retroactive
Retroactive to the date that we
on
received.
the resignation.
Effective immediately.
October 1st, it looks like is what the date stamped.
September, it's October 1st.
It looks like October 1st to me, 2019.
Effective October 1st.
Do we have a motion? Motion? Second? Mr. Carson, discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt? Yes. Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Resignation, head girls soccer coach.
The board is asked to consider the resignation of Aaron Askin, high school girls soccer coach, effective October 2nd, 2019.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Middle school wrestling coach.
The board is asked to consider the approval of Tim Boring as the middle school head wrestling coach at a supplemental salary of $2,843 for the 2019-2020 school year.
Motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Question, is that are they brothers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Discussion?
Clearances,
Yes.
yes. We most generally, before we'd even present, we have clearances.
Roll call?
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Interim coaches to fill high school girls soccer coaches.
The board is asked to consider the approval of Chris Hickson as the interim high school girls head soccer coach at a prorated salary of $2,468.50, and Jason Bandemir as the interim high school assistant girls soccer coach at a prorated salary of $1,851.50 for the remainder of the 2019-2020 season, effective immediately. And I would like to thank these two gentlemen for stepping up and helping us in a difficult situation.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Post position of middle school assistant wrestling coach.
The board is asked to consider authorizing administration to post the supplemental position of middle school assistant wrestling coach. Salary is in the 2019-2020 budget at a supplemental salary of $2,843.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Post position of boys middle school assistant basketball coach.
The board is asked to authorize administration to post a supplemental position of middle school boys assistant basketball coach. Supplemental salary is in the 2019-2020 fiscal budget, and the salary is $2,457.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Parental leave for Leslie Street.
The board is asked to approve the parental leave request with no break in service for Leslie Street from approximately January 2nd, 2020 to approximately February 18th, 2020.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Alt? Mr. Beistel? Mr. Carson? Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Resignation of security guard.
The board is asked to consider the resignation of Thomas Kimmel from the position of Southmoreland Security Guard effective, that would be October 16th, 2019.
Motion? Second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Motion carries, 6-3 absent.
Mr. Patonik has something.
I forgot to mention this in my report section. I had a oral report, telephone conversation with Solicitor Aaron Bylon, who informed me that the township had completed their need for access to the property with the people who were supposed to be doing their testing, et cetera, but they hadn't yet received all the reports back. I'm going to follow up with him and see if, since he made that report to me, that was actually right before our last meeting, and I forgot to mention it, to see where that stands now. Thank you.
They had till the end of this month, right?
I think they had to the end of September to have access,
Oh.
and so they completed that. But they don't have in hand every report that they are trying to get. Thank you.
I saw one of them at Sam's Club. They said they would have it to us within the next week.
Citizens' comments?
Hi, Christy Smith, 818 Parker Avenue. Can I just ask a clarification? So you voted to not go forward with the bond reissuance? No, you didn't, or yes, you did? No.
The only vote that was taken was to keep the option open by inviting the financial advisor to come on Tuesday to give their presentation and answer questions. And then the board will have an opportunity to decide whether they want to engage a financial advisor or not, theoretically to continue with the process or delay it or stop it completely.
So what was the first vote that failed?
To hire a specific bond counsel.
Okay. Okay, so is that something that the financial advisor would advise you on, someone they suggest that you hire? And then my second question would be...
I think you'd have to ask them that. That wasn't part of the request for proposal.
Okay. And then my second question would be, since you decided to wait on that, can you advertise for it again and try to get more people?
Say the question again.
Is there more than one option for the bond person that you said no to?
Bond counsel?
Yes,
or
bond
the-
counsel, or have you already decided you're going with that bond counsel?
No.
So is there more than one option?
The vote failed tonight 4-2. I
Right.
don't know what the next step is. It could be voted on again. It could be the board decides they want advice from the financial advisor. They could decide they want to look at person ABC. I don't know.
But this is the same person we already sent all of our records to, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But that didn't... I guess I'm confused. So if we already decided we're going to send all of our stuff to him so that he can be that person, that was not the same vote?
No, that did not legally obligate the board to continue to that, with that person for actual services. It merely provided an opportunity for that person to obtain the information and actually to interact with us with some questions that we had in getting ready to ask, to do the request for proposal and just to get additional information.
Okay. And is there any update on the 6th grade rooms that were damaged by water? I know some of them are still closed off.
They were back up in normal. There is a couple ceiling tiles and everything that we do have to replace in several rooms, but we're in the process of finalizing all the projected costs, the damage costs. So hopefully we're going to be submitting everything to the insurance company and everything should be. But as far as the cleanup end of it, everything is pretty much back to the way it was.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
With the exception of the art room, we have to replace some stuff there.
Okay, what time is the meeting?
7.
7.
It's Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Michelle Williams, 208 North Chestnut Street. So I just had a question, again, about the bonds, just some clarification. But, like, we're talking numbers, so I guess the only thing I really want to know, and probably what most people want to know, is how much this will decrease our payments. So, like, we're looking at an $88,000 increase in payments. How much will that adjust this?
It's a big question to ask the financial advisor. My understanding is, no, I can't say that.
So, I mean, like,
I don't think I can state that with...
well, if we
certainty.
can state that we are going to save, I'm not looking for exact numbers here,
It'd be
but
close-
we
it'd be
have
close
X
to
amount
what-
of payments left.
It'd be close to what your gross savings would
No, I understand that, but like, if each payment is going up $88,000, I'm asking what that would come down to then, because I'm not sure how many years are left on that. Is it
Well, you could run those
5?
bonds a myriad of ways. You can come up with different dollar amounts per year. So, they would have to do that. First you got to decide, are you going to take the cash, or are you going to put it to these bonds?
If you do
And
nothing, they go up
you come up with a myriad of
$84,000.
answers on what your bond issue will cost you each year out to 2028.
Okay, so is that when this would mature, is 2028?
Yeah,
That's
and I'd just like to add, this project, the 2005 project, all these renovations, they were financed over 23 and a half years, which normal is 30. So Southmoreland taxpayers saved a ton of money in interest by cutting it down 6.5 years.
So my other thing is, and this is,
If
I
I
guess...
could just add something to this. There was a clarification made in going back and forth with a lot of numbers, and understanding from Mr. Marnell is that the number is not $88,000, but it's $84,000.
Okay.
Beginning with 2022, 2023. And then in the years after that, there are little variations to that of a few $1,000s to maybe $5,000 at most. So it depends on, as Mr. Porter said, how you take that savings and spread it out over that period of years, the remaining number of years, and whether or not, 1 year is treated differently or whatever. But if you do projects, if you take all the money up front and do projects, whatever they may be, then I would think that there's not going to be enough money to do serious projects and reduce payments. So in that event, 2022, 2023, you will see that new plateau level of $84,000 higher. So if you do nothing, let's say you do nothing at all, you just don't do a bond refinancing, then right now you're projected to 2022, 2023 have an increase.
of $84,000.
Yes.
So if we take the money up front, I hope whoever does end up voting on this realizes that in 2022, 2023, our payments are still going to go up $84,000.
That's correct.
Which is
That's
still
correct.
money that we will not be able to afford. And I think it's great that we finished the year in the black and not in the red, but I just want to remind everybody that we made an awful lot of cuts to get there.
Yes.
This year and last year. So it's not like we're sitting here in all great and wonderful shape. We made an awful lot of cuts to get to this position. And then something for Mr. Masha, have we looked into a foundation? Hempfield has a foundation, Connellsville has a foundation. And I'm just wondering, like, when we're talking about resurfacing tennis courts and track surfaces, which I wholeheartedly agree, if they need to be done, they need to be done, but we also don't have the financial ability to do those things. If we started a foundation and people could donate, those would be things that were outside of the realms of what the school district is ultimately allowed to receive as far as donations would go. So if somebody wanted to make a donation to teachers, they would be able to do that through the foundation. If somebody wanted to make a donation towards this, that, or the other, those would be funds that would be able to be dispersed to do projects, like, albeit probably not great big giant projects, but these would, I have reached out to the Westmoreland County Foundation that Hempfield has, and I am not able to do that because I am not a board member or an administrator here. So somebody from the board, somebody from administration needs to reach out to them and ask them what would be involved. They will talk you through it. They will tell you what they do. They administer Hempfield. I'm not sure if Connellsville administers their own or how they do that, but that's completely separate from a board. And I think that that's something that in the situation that we're in now, and what every district is in really now, that's something we need to be thinking about moving forward.
Mr. Swink, Mrs. Sutton, and I actually went over to Mount Pleasant also has a foundation.
Yeah, and I think they may be facilitated through the same place as Hempfield, and I think Bell Vernon is as well.
We went over and had a conversation with them, and we would like to explore that option, definitely.
Thank you.
In regards to that $88,000 bump step, starting in 22-23, remember your net increase budget-wise will be somewhere around $60,000 after state reimbursement. And then I gotta wonder, it probably happened during the last refinancing, the board approved that bump step. For whatever reason, they didn't disapprove it. So at that point in time, the board was willing to do it. I wasn't here, so I don't know.
Any other citizens' comments?
Pardon?
Do you have an announcement about committees?
Yes. Okay, yes. One last thing. Mrs. Rose, I am assisting Mrs. Rose. We had formed a negotiating committee. Mr. Alt will be replacing Mr. Fry, and I would like to notify the board and the public that we will begin negotiations in the very near future with that would be with the SEA, Southmoreland Education Association.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Mattoni.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.